ABB's AppStudio is a versatile development platform for interface design, streamlining code exchange, robot system integration, and collaboration. Designed for any developer, from beginners to coding experts, AppStudio offers the powerful tools, library access, and the scalability you need to realize any application on multiple devices, including the Web Designer tool, the Component Creator, the AppStudio Cloud Library, and direct access to the developer community. The Web Designer drag-and-drop tool allows you to create user interfaces with ease for all ABB cobots and robots powered by the Omnicore controller. Use them on devices like the Flex Pendant, tablets, smartphones, and PCs. Leverage the Language Manager to create and deploy screens in multiple languages in an instant. AppStudio's Component Designer allows experts to fully customize and create their own components to their exact specifications. AppStudio works seamlessly with real robots or with virtual robots in Robot Studio. With AppStudio, users can tap into a growing cloud library filled with application templates, drivers, screen components, and much more. No more starting from scratch when setting up applications or accessory communication. Share your screen components or templates to be part of a vibrant global community. Discover ABB's AppStudio today, the ultimate tool for robot application developers at every level.
Super happy to have this webinar and really spread the word of what is the value AppStudio is actually bringing to you, because after this development phase, I think one of the greatest things is actually to really bring the value to our customers, to all of you. When we started developing AppStudio, we had one goal in mind: to really make robot integration as intuitive and flexible as possible. And over the years, I've seen how challenging it can be to create custom interfaces and really streamline workflows, even for experienced developers. So that's why I'm so excited to introduce AppStudio to you. This is a first release of a tool designed not just for ABB robots, but actually really for the people who integrate and use the ABB robots for the first time or who use them every day. Before we're diving into the capabilities of AppStudio, let's talk about the bigger picture, the key challenges and trends shaping the robotics industry today. Complexity of robotic integration. Imagine trying to assemble a piece of flat pack furniture without the instructions or an example, just a pile of parts and a vague sense of how it should look at the end. That is what robotic integration can feel like today, overly complicated with too many steps. So the industry as such is in need of more and more user-friendly tools that simplify those complex tasks, enabling faster and more efficient solutions for both existing but also new users. Demand for customization. Think about your smartphone. So what is the first thing you actually do? You customize it. Add your favorite apps, change the theme, maybe set up shortcuts for your life hacks. And the robotics industry is also asking more and more for solutions they can tweak and personalize to fit their exact needs, not just a one-size-fits-all. Scalability requirements. Picture a video game. You start on level 1, learning the basics, but as you get better, you unlock new levels, tougher challenges, and cooler tools. And robotic tools need to work in the same way, in my opinion. They need to start from being very simple for beginners, but then leveraging up alongside users as their project get bigger and more complex. And these challenges for me show why AppStudio is here. So it's a solution that simplifies, adapts, and grows alongside you, turning robotic integration into something as easy as making your morning coffee, Okay, maybe not, depending on the application, that easy, but at least close to. Let me introduce you to the dream team of the ABB software portfolio. So we have the RobotStudio, the AppStudio, and our FlexPennant software. These three tools work together like a well-oiled machine. So you have RobotStudio, the tool for offline programming, for simulation, allowing you to build, test, and optimize your robotic system in a virtual environment, even before touching the real hardware. But of course, you can also connect it to the real robot. Then we have the FlexPennant software, the interface that brings robot control right to your fingertips, make it easy to operate and fine-tune your system directly on the shop floor. And AppStudio will help you making robotic integration smoother and more efficient than before. For the ones who knew AppMaker, AppStudio will replace this little helping tool, because at the end it's providing much more powerful possibilities. AppStudio is designed to work seamlessly with all OmniCore powered robots and cobots. And it's really for all skill levels. So whether you're just starting out or you're seasoned robotic experts, you will definitely find something with big value in it. When we look at different applications, it's really supporting from machine tending, pick and place, packaging, palletizing, welding, inspection, or even if you have a very customized application, you can use AppStudio for those. And on top of this, no matter if your project is simple or complex, also here AppStudio will play a role or can play a role in your journey. Let's look at the three main elements inside. So as we have seen it in the opening video already, there's one big area where you can create customized user interfaces, the user interface or web designer. And here you can create customized screens for the OmniCore controller without writing a single line of code. So just drag and drop and you're done. And you will see more how this works in the demo later. Then there's a component kit creator. So for those who love to really extend the possibilities, who want to create their own drag and drop components for screens, they can really do this. So typically I would say experts, this one is also for you. We have the cloud library. So finally, a one-stop hub where developers can share and access great examples, templates, drivers, smart components, and screen components. So I would say, think of it as the ultimate treasure chest for anyone working with ABB's robots. The software AppStudio is available in multiple languages. So you can basically change the language of the AppStudio itself, run it in German, in Italian, in quite a lot of languages. And it's a Windows desktop version. So you run or you install the software on your Windows PC. It can connect to the real, but also to the virtual controller in RobotStudio. So with this, I would say, let me show you actually how AppStudio works. And that's really like bringing your ideas to life with just a few clicks. And I will start to show you this by creating a gripper integration. And if you have questions later, I'm super happy to get all your questions. And if you want to see more, then we can also really do this at the end. Imagine this. So you're a developer and wondering, how do I communicate with my gripper? Maybe it's a TCP IP communication, you know, it's already something to do with sockets, but is there an example? So the cloud library in AppStudio might help you. So I already installed AppStudio, so let me open it. And once it's open, then you can go here on the left side to the area of the cloud library. It takes a moment to get the latest info. And then you can see here, for example, one template for TCP IP communication. Just download it, and that is rapid code you can at the end directly use in RobotStudio. Then you want to create maybe a screen interface for the gripper. So you create a new project also here in AppStudio. you give it a name, you can select which size, and you can also select the picture. This picture basically will be shown later on the flex pennant. And you can add also languages where you want to translate the flex pennant screen later on. And once the project is created, you can see, depending on your selection, a template project or a blank canvas, like here in our case. So let's first organize the screen. This is a hamburger menu. And in this hamburger menu, we want to start with 2 tabs. So one, we name it Home. That is more than for gripper info and interaction. And then one for Help. So here the idea is that maybe we want to show additional information later on for the ones providing this web app. You also choose your icon. That's the icon you can then see on the left side. And once you're done with it, we can actually start to fill it with the content. So the first thing, maybe we want to add a picture of a gripper mounted on the robot. So let me find one. You can just position it, change the size. And then the next thing is to add a title. So you just drag and drop a text component. And you can change the text on one side, but then you can also change easily the font size, the type of the font, make it maybe bold. And let me also adjust here the size of the box of the text. The next thing, we want to have some interaction. So let's add a button to it. So here with this button, we want to manually open and close the gripper. In this case, I'm adding the text not just by typing as before, but I will add it as a variable so I can show you later on how we can easily also translate it. If you just have one language, you don't need these variables, but if you want to have multiple languages, then that's the easy way to do it. Then you can again adjust the font type size. Also the color, so maybe in this case we make it black, and the background maybe style it with a light blue. And we can also have not rounded corners, so that's interestingly where we got a lot of requests to make it not rounded. And just to show you, you can also make the background color transparent. In this case, we keep it simple without any transparency, but I think if we want to put it in front of pictures, that's also very, very good to have it. Now the exciting part, we add the functionality to the button. So we go to this behavior tab, and then on click, you can choose from a number of predefined functionalities. So in this case, we execute a procedure, the gripping procedure, and I basically just type the module name and the procedure name. Also, maybe let's make it a little bold here. And then we can just copy and paste. So I just need to adapt the text. And then, of course, what you can do is you can also basically add an icon here if you want. In our case, we don't need it. And then you can also easily just adjust the procedure, because in this case, we want to release, we don't want to grip. And by just selecting them together, you can also align them. So it's also looking very good. Next to the button, let's also display the signals of the gripper. So for this, we create a container. And this container, we would give the title signals. And again, you can also change the font type size here. And maybe we can also bring it to the center, make it a little bold. And then maybe in this case, we don't want to show this outside. So we just reduce the border size to 0. And then it's basically a container without borders. We drag and drop the components for the signals, the LED indicator, and also text describing which signal is it. And in this case, we want to show the signals for the fingers which are fully open and fully closed. So let's start with the first one. And now it's a big question. So how do I basically connect? And here the great thing is you can directly connect to, in our case, the Robot Studio station, but you could also connect to the real robot. And then you can select this showing the signal, and you can directly see a list of all the signals available on your connected controller. So you don't need to type everything. You will not make any mistakes also. You can directly select the signals you want to show. So in this case, maybe this finger fully open. And then again, we select both of them. We just copy and paste. And with a keyboard, you can also just move it to a new place. So in this case, maybe we just move it down. And then we adjust it to the second signal. So the finger fully closed. And we also adjust the signal, of course. And the benefit of the container, then you can move it, basically this whole content together. So what if you need an interface then also in multiple languages? You can go to translation, and here said I created it just for one of the buttons. You can add the translation, and then you can preview basically what will change. So here we can see this one button changing, and basically if you change the language of the flex panel, then your screen would also automatically change. So let's deploy it. So that is basically copying or creating your web app directly on the robot controller. And then once this is deployed, we get also the info, and we can go to the Robot Studio station. We can go to controller and open the flex panel, the virtual flex panel in this case. And then you just open, here you can see the little icon we created, and you can see I can directly execute the grip and release. So in a few minutes, you actually created a full functional screen already here. That is what we see in a lot of cases. So most of the web apps are quite simple, just to have easy controls. But I would also really like to show in this webinar the advanced possibilities you have. So for example, in this case, we want to have the release button not active in auto mode, because maybe you just want to allow it in manual mode. So here on the behavior, you can add a state, saying basically, if you're in auto mode, then it will be disabled. And if you're in manual mode, then the release button will actually be active. And you can, on one hand, basically disable it. You could also hide things, but you can also, in this case, maybe just change a little bit how the button is shown. Maybe it's a little bit this grayed out idea. So in this case, we make it darker green when it's not active. Also, I would like to show you a little bit the possibilities of adding custom JavaScript code. So when you go here, you see that it's executing the procedure, but let me just copy and paste some prepared JavaScript code. So in this case, it's JavaScript code to show a progress bar when the gripper is opening and closing. So that is pure JavaScript code. You can either add directly to the button or as a general functionality in this function area. And then here, basically, you really have the possibility to, really do what is possible with the JavaScript in general. Once you create in the function manager, you can also just select the functionality here. So that is all well connected. In this case, if we deploy it, then we can, again, test it on the Robot Studio. So what we will see is when we press then the grip button, open the flex panel again, open the gripper interface, and you should see the progress bar then on the bottom when we click the grip. Yeah, quickly there, already executed. And for release, that's inactive because we are in auto mode. And once we switch to manual mode and also basically hold the enabling device, switch the motors on, then you can also release it and the button is basically active. So we have the grip and release fully functional then in manual mode with also showing the progress bar. With this, I would quickly jump and show you in general what is possible by creating those web apps. So if you look on the top left, then as I said, a lot of screens are typically very easy. So let's take the coffee demo, for example. So here you can see basically 3 buttons where you can select your coffee. A very, very easy screen. And as I said, that is a screen you can fully create via drag and drop in the AppStudio itself. Then in the top middle, we also see an interface for linear access. So thanks to our growing ecosystem of partners, many ecosystem components like rippers, feeders, and I would say also external access now come plug and play with the necessary software and HMIs already integrated. And what I would also like to show is that you can also create very advanced screens. So this is, for example, this full palletizing interface. So full palletizing application can be configured on the Flex Pennant. And that has a lot of screens within each other. But also, yes, you can see here, you can basically show it either on the Flex Pennant or you can optimize it for being shown on tablet or also your phone. So how do you show it on something like a tablet or a phone? You basically open the browser and you give it the right path, and then you can directly also show those interfaces. Then let me quickly, I would say, come back to the AppStudio itself. So in the AppStudio, as I said, you can also see under Help several things like release notes, a link to the forum, and also a possibility to contact. And when we go back to the cloud library, then you can actually see, after a second when it's loaded, that we are starting. So that is really growing. So you will see more and more examples in the future. But what you can already see here is when you go to project templates, those are also already the templates you can directly then use basically as examples to build your screens. So if I create a new project, then you can see here that the templates I downloaded are available. So I don't need to start from scratch, but you can see them here. But also what you can find is when you go to component kits, you can actually find a possibility of having more and more drag and drop components available. And as I said, it's a growing library. So look at this in a few days and a few weeks, and you should see a lot more. If you have great things created as an expert, then I would also be happy to share it, if you would share it. Because this component kit, if you download it, you will find it here in the component kit area. You can also create your very own component kits here. So let's say if you want to have maybe your logo every time, then you could create a new kit, basically here saying, okay, I want to have a logo kit. And in this case, I created one drag and drop component, in this case, the ABB logo. And as you can see, the interface is looking basically the same as in your final project, but it's really made that you can create your custom drag and drop parts. So once basically, if I publish a version, then I need to give it a number and I can continue. So this is in this case, I already had this published. And then if we go back to our project, so let's maybe go back to one of the gripper things I created. So here I can basically go in and I can enable those kits. So let's say maybe the one I just downloaded from the cloud library, but then maybe also, I think that was this logo kit, yes. So if I save and update it, then you can see that you will get more components available. So if you need to have very specific ones also for your company, maybe your logos, but also very specific components, you have them here basically ready as drag and drop components. Yeah, with this said, there's one more opportunity. So we see that more and more, I would say, devices are coming with a web server on board. So that is typically smart cameras, but also welding sources. It's sometimes even a gripper. And the question we got a lot of times, can we actually show those interfaces directly on our Flex Pennant? Because at the end, the big benefit of showing the interface here is you don't need to have additional screen, no additional HMI in general. So that is where you can also reduce the cost. And yes, this is possible. So let me also quickly show you this. When we go to the AppStudio, you can create a new project and you can say, create a project with a web server. So here you can then basically give it a name, give it a logo, and then link to the web server of your device. So that is also a super easy way now of connecting those new interfaces. One hint here, because we also get it in the Q&A this morning. Currently, our Flex Pennant is supporting an older browser version with the RobotWare 7.17. We will also first time introduce a new Chromium browser. So if you had those web apps already created, definitely from 7.17. If you enable the new Chromium browser, then they should also really be fully functional on our Flex Pennant. For the ones who tried it before, from 7.17, you first need to go into settings and you need to enable this new browser. In the future, that will be the default one. From the Cloud Library, I would also like to highlight our first really application template, so lean palletizing application. And for now, you have basically the screen interface available in the library. There will also be in the next days a package basically with a rapid code, with a configuration files, with all the parts you also need next to the screen. We had one box we still wanted to fix here. That's why it's not there today, but you should be able to see this package also available in the next days. And what is it? It's a lean palletizing application template. So if you have a palletizing project upcoming, if you want to build up a demo for palletizing, then I would definitely recommend to check this out, because at the end, the ambition here is to say, if you set up a palletizing application, a lot of people assume it's super easy. You can just do a pick and place. But at the end, if you look behind this and you want to make it configurable, then there are a lot of things to consider, from starting to how can I reach this position with a robot, but also how to build everything. And when you start from this template, then you can easily save up to 80% of your time. As said, there's a big help section also in the AppStudio itself. If you have feedback, I'm also super happy to get your feedback either through the contact form or also through the forum. So let me summarize the 5 most important key functionalities. So we have the drag and drop interface, create user interfaces effortlessly using the drag and drop possibilities. And once built, you can easily configure the functionality of each element, so you don't need any coding for a lot of screens. Multiple screen sizes, so the design of the screens can be done for Flex Pennant, smartphones, tablets, PCs. So here it's really not just limited to the Flex Pennant. And if you want to create web apps, basically, which you can translate easily to different languages, then it's also super easy to do this in AppStudio itself. And the interesting thing is we had a lot of discussions actually today where we also had requests of people saying, yes, I want to have the same web app translated to the different languages. Then expert coding. So you can inject your custom JavaScript code for tailored functionality. That is really opening up a lot of possibilities for the experts. And you have the growing cloud library with a lot of templates, and as I said, more and more to come. So what is the value of AppStudio for you? Productivity, I think, is the most important thing. So like a productive bee buzzing around from flower to flower, AppStudio helps you to save up to 80% of your time to really set up application, but also those screens. Ease of use. We heard it also as a trend in the industry at the beginning, just as easy as pressing a button. This is how it should be to create screens. And I would say with this drag and drop interface, we are really getting into this right direction here. So even someone who never coded before can use AppStudio now to really create fully functional, but also professional grade interfaces within minutes. Collaboration. So like the welding ring shown in the picture here, building a lasting partnership. I think also this possibility of now sharing things in the cloud library, I would really like to see this growing. And as I said, if you have something to share, we are super happy to also bring it into the cloud library to bring the value to others as well. Flexibility, like we see it here in this bustling market full of colorful fruits and vegetables. So the idea is really that you pick what you need, but you can also make it fit to your needs. So for example, changing the screen size, changing to multiple languages, that is basically the possibility you have. And finally, but I think for ABB, that is what ABB stands for and is very important, is also quality. So like a reliable compass guiding you to success, the ambition is that with AppStudio, you're not just creating solutions, but you're actually really building reliable and I would say also polished experiences that you can be proud to at the end deliver to your final operators, to your final customers. For the ones working with ABB since a longer time, the OmniCore controller is now ABB's new standard controller as the IRC5 is in the phase out. So if you have basically screens created for the IRC5 controller, then AppStudio is definitely something you should check out to basically recreate your interfaces. There's not one-click migration, but it will definitely help you to quickly do this transition from having the screen on the IRC5 now moving it to the OmniCore controller. AppStudio was developed with one clear goal to really meet the real-world needs of our users. So we had a lot of user tests and interaction also during the development phase. And in general, I would say, as Edwin Peters puts it, it's quite easy to visualize a robotics cell on the new OmniCore Teach panel. And here's the part you've all been waiting for. What does it cost? Because, I mean, it's a great value. And I can tell you that AppStudio, the version we have now here, is completely for free. So why? Because we really want to empower developers to make the most out of ABB's robots. So by offering AppStudio for free, we're not just helping you to create amazing applications, but at the end, I think it's also part of ABB is the choice to do easy integration. And after all, I mean, if it's easier for you, if you save a lot of time actually creating application, ideally, we also have more ABB robots out in the field, and that is, of course, a win for everyone. So how do you get started with AppStudio? Yourself, you try it, and now. So either you just download it and you try it, or you can also find soon in the chat, but then also linked from AppStudio itself to e-learnings. So those e-learnings are also free of charge. One is more with a vision for beginners. It's really step-by-step guiding you through the process of saying, how can I create my first project? It also has example Robot Studio stations inside. And then there's also one for the experts. And this one, you will find a lot of valuable information also, for example, how to use a JavaScript part. Classroom trainings is, of course, also something ABB offers. So if you prefer this, then also in the basic training course, there is an introduction to the AppStudio included. And then I can just say, we prepared the way. So it's now one click away, one scan of the QR code away. So basically, it's up to you to really download AppStudio, try it yourself, and at the end, really see what AppStudio can do for you. And now I would say it's your turn. We had a lot of questions this morning. I'm looking for your questions now. I walked you through the features and benefits, but I'm sure you have questions, and I'm super happy to also answer them. So that's your chance to actually dive deeper, clarify things, but I'm also very, very curious to get to know your thoughts on it.
Thank you so much, Katja, for this presentation about AppStudio, the ultimate developer tool for robotics. And as you have said, a lot of questions came in the Ask the Speaker channel. But before I read them, if you have more questions, we encourage you to please go ahead and write them in the Ask the Speaker panel. The first question is from Daniel. Is AppStudio only available on OmniCore, or is it also working on IRC5 controller?
Yeah, so the AppStudio itself and the way we create the screens is just working on the OmniCore controller, because as said, that is a new standard controller for ABB, and the IRC5 is in the phase out. If you take maybe some of the rapid examples from the Cloud Library, they might still also work on the IRC5. So here you might be lucky to still also get a few very great examples.
Yes, thank you so much, Katja. The next one is from Alexander. Does AppStudio require an option on the robot?
No, so this is also, I would say, different from what we had on the IRC5. On the IRC5, you had to have an option for the screen maker, and that is away. So basically, for the OmniCore controller, everyone can create those interfaces without any additional option.
Thank you. This one is from Patrick. He has 3 questions, and I just merged them all together. His first question is how to use variables from hidden tasks. Is it possible to change the colors of buttons based on variable states? For example, from green to red. And then the last question from Patrick. Oh, sorry. Is there a way to export and import the translation as a CSV file so that the translator does not necessarily need AppStudio?
Yeah. So for the first question, to change the state, so in general, what you can do with the hidden variables, you can connect them, for example, for text. So there we already support the hidden variables. For the state, it's not supported now, but it's on the long list of things we already got requests for. So I would say on this side, stay tuned. You might see it in future versions. For the translation, that is something you can't export and import today. But if you look in the project file, then you can actually basically export the whole project, take this file, translate it or modify this, and then when you load the project again, then you would actually also see it. So I would say it's not ease of use yet, but if you really want to do it, it's possible to do it. That is probably something we will also see on future versions, that you could just export and import the translation.
Mm-hmm. Next is from Emil. Would it be possible to change picture by input? For example, if you close the gripper, change picture to gripper closed.
Yeah, so I would say in general on changing pictures, you have multiple possibilities. And maybe let me quickly also show this a little bit of the possibilities. So here maybe one of the examples where I created another interface. So either basically what you can do is you can drag and drop a picture, and then you can say, or here you can basically see that this is the image 4 at the moment. And then basically you could subscribe to a signal, and you could use the JavaScript code to say, yes, depending on when it changes, you actually change the source of this image. And for this, in the tutorial, you can also find an example how to do it. The second option is that you use also this advanced component of a multi-view. That is, for example, what is done here. So here you basically directly create different kind of views, and you put different elements in this view. And then you can basically say, you change the content shown on this. And this also, as I said, it's a little bit of an expert feature today, but we have examples for this. So here you can see when I basically create this multi-view, then I'm executing one of the functions. And in the functions, you can basically see that depending on what is the variable, in this case, I mean, it's a numeric variable, but it would work in the same way with the signal. Then basically this view is changing and is basically showing the different pictures depending on what is the current indicator, what is it currently basically, which number is it showing. So this view will also show here.
Okay. Another question, this is a merge question about JavaScript. This is from Nikolai and Gustav. Is it only able to run on JavaScript? And is it possible to import JavaScript libraries that then can be accessed in the code to make more advanced applications?
Yeah, I would say for now, you need to copy and paste all the JavaScript in the functions. We know that there is a big request to also connect it to libraries. That is not supported in the AppStudio yet, but I can also just say stay tuned on this side.
More and more questions are coming in the chat.
That's perfect.
The next one, the next one is from Chakib. AppStudio is an additional software license, or?
Yeah, so you can basically take the link we shared for the downloads. You can just go there, download AppStudio, and use it. So as said, it's for free. You don't need to have any additional license, not on the robot, not there. So really use it, and I would say really make great interfaces for our users, our common operators at the end. That's really the aim here. As said, we might have license features in the future in AppStudio, but that is this basic version we have now will stay for free.
This next one is not a question, but a feedback. This is from Randy. The palletizing application works great. He tested it and he thinks it's very nice.
Happy to hear this.
And the next question is from Atul. Does it support Python 2?
No Python support as of today.
Okay. Another one from Thomas. Can I connect to UI from any web client, or do I need special app for phone or tablet?
No, you don't need to have any a special app there. So maybe let me do a quick check. So maybe I can even directly show it here. Ta-da. So basically all you need to do is, let's say we have our station here, and you have basically one app called Grip. So you can show basically your app up here on the Flex panel, and then you would go to the browser, and depending on if it's a real robot or if it's a RobotStudio station, you need to change the IP address. And I mean, you need to connect somehow to the network of the robot. But if you have here, for example, the IP address of the virtual robot, then you basically give it the path where the web app is placed, and or AppStudio does it on the file server's home, and then on the web apps, and then you need to change this part basically to say this is the name of your web app. So that is what was called Grip. And then, of course, the browser is asking you, is it okay to actually connect to it? So we will accept the risk because, I mean, we know we connect to the virtual controller. Then we need to give it the default username and password, or I mean, you created a very special one. Of course, you can also do this. That is the default one, also written in our manuals. And once you connect, you're here. So that is basically it. In the browser, you can directly then show the interface. And for the experts, maybe a small hint, if you also want to use the functionality of web development in the browser, then of course you can use this as well a little bit for debugging.
Thank you, Katja. This question was from Akash, but it's already answered. She asked where to download AppStudio, and then you gave the link, the QR code, and then Arvid also replied it in the chat where you can get the direct link. And the next question is from Anides. Is AppStudio a way to create unique HMIs using the screens that you already have with wide range of customization?
I think it's a big focus for sure on creating screens at the moment, because that is one of the key functionalities. The second big part is definitely the cloud library. And that has some elements definitely for creating screens, but as I said, it's really a cloud library to share templates, to get more examples, and that is not just for screens. That is also, as I said, can be rapid code, can be smart components, whatever people are actually also open to share.
Okay. Another one is from Akus. What about licensing own unique applications created by a user?
Yeah, so in general, I mean, the main part we have seen here is basically to create those web interfaces. I would say when you look for specific licensing, then I would recommend to look into the broader topic of creating add-ins. Because add-ins is typically what we use in ABB to say we package a whole software solution, and then basically someone can install it on the robot. And here you can also pack basically rapid code configuration files, but also this web app in one of the packages. So it's nothing directly in an AppStudio, but in general, I said I will look into the topic of add-ins.
This is 2 questions from Manus. Can Screen Maker projects be transformed to AppStudio projects? And what can you advise him, because his virtual controller freezes on restart if AppStudio is connected?
I would say, first of all, there's not a just one button migration, but as I said, AppStudio is quite effective in recreating the screen. So that is basically what you need to do. When you have a Screen Maker project, you need to create it new in AppStudio. And if it freezes, first, I would ask you to report it as a bug. That is one thing. The second thing is actually you can, when you're connected here to the virtual controller, then you can also log out. So maybe my recommendation then would be to log out first and then try the restart.
That's very good. This one is from Antal, and he has, there's 5 questions that's listed on that comment. The first one is, the max screen size limited?
Oh, that's actually a question I can't answer. I need to do follow-up.
Okay, so I will proceed to the next one. Is it possible to keep the picture aspect ratio of the pictures?
Yeah, no, not as of today, but I would say definitely in future versions.
Next, the third one is it possible to create custom icons for buttons?
Also here, not yet in the first version, but we know this is a request to also add custom icons. Currently, I mean, you could export your web app and you could replace them. That's maybe a workaround.
Another question from Antal, is it possible to manipulate SVG files? For example, changing the background color of circles in a traffic light, etc.
Yeah, I would say not in this way. So, but what you can do is you can basically make different pictures visible and invisible. Similar like as we've seen it with the state to say, okay, we want to have this release button just active in manual mode. You can also say, depending on certain states, you can make elements fully visible or invisible. And if you have a transparent background in your picture, then you can also put multiple pictures on top of each other. And just to show this in general, so for example, here I've done this. So we have this button showing, or this icon showing it's in manual mode or auto mode. And as you can see, when I move it away, underneath also this icon for auto, and I just make it visible or invisible, basically depending on the state. And then here you can also see you can bring it to the front or to the back. Yeah.
Last one. Is there a product amount limit in the palletizing template? Is this one a good alternative for palletizing PowerPack?
I'm not sure if I fully get this question. I would say with the palletizing template, the main target is to have lean applications. So typically you have 1 or 2 pallets. You typically have 1 or 2 infeeders. And I would say it's a typical case where people say, hey, it's just an easy pick and place, an easy palletizing application. But when it comes to the details, I mean, you need to consider a lot of what is the orientation of the robot, how do you get to this position. So that is, I would say, the main target. I would say it's not directly in competition to the PowerPack. PowerPack has other and more advanced features also.
Another one from Lloyd. This is not a question, this is a feedback, and he wants to thank us, and he can really see the benefit of AppStudio to the programmers. And ABB quality is second to none. Great webinar, thank you. Next question is from Bastian. Is it possible to change well data?
So here, I mean, as you basically have seen, we have some functionality inbuilt. So certain things you can basically change directly. If this is not enough, then as I said, look into also what is possible on the JavaScript code, and maybe just to show this also where to find more information. So if you create your own functionality, then you can also go here to the API documentation. So that is basically where you can find, first of all, the description of the components behind, but also then for the API, you can really find all the details and also a few examples, especially for those things like multiple instances and stuff where you can basically get some good examples. So I would say that is definitely an area then to look into if you want to create something more specific.
I can see that we still have a lot of questions here, and we said that Katya will answer as many questions as possible. But if your questions will not be answered, there will be an email that will be sent to you after this webinar with a link to the recordings and then an Excel file with all the questions and all the answers. With that, I would like to proceed to the next question. This is from Edwin. Can you enable or disable buttons depending on the login user?
First of all, great to have you on the call. And second, I would say that is something we also have the request. It's not directly supported in AppStudio today, but in the future, that's something we're also looking into.
Next is from Matthew. What about Robotware version and AppStudio version? For example, if we need to upgrade Robotware version, do we need to rebuild the app, or have we all the versions like ScreenMaker in IRC5?
Yeah, so basically, if you also connect, I'm not sure if we can show it here. So there's a minimum, basically, Robotware version for the AppStudio because we introduced also new functionality. So that is why 1.12 basically to use AppStudio. And I mean, the vision is that for future robotware versions, it will be backward compatible, but that is basically the starting point. If you have especially robotware 6 versions running on the IRC5 controller, then it's correct. Then you first time need to create the project in AppStudio. And I've seen there was one more question in between, if you can create pop-ups. So in general, maybe to show this. So you also have, let's say we maybe have one of the buttons here. And then there's also a possibility to say you can have a message box popping up on click or on the other events. So that is maybe something answering the question for the pop-up.
Next one is from Gazale. Does it work with Cognex integrated vision program to display the results or images?
Yeah, so Cognex, for example, has basically a web server on board. And here may be an additional info. So on the current robotware, we have our legacy browser included, which still uses the older web-end version. But from the robotware 7.17 on, which will be public mid of February, there you can already switch to the new Chromium browser. And especially when we have custom web apps, then that is typically something where they included more functionality. So I would recommend to then use the new Chromium browser, which will be coming. And here a hint, if you have then in February the robotware 7.17, then you can go under settings, under I think it was FlexPen and settings somewhere, and there you can switch on the new Chromium browser. So if you use external web apps, best case it's running now, but latest on the robotware 7.17 with the new browser, that should be fully functional, yes.
Thank you, Katja. We have exactly 5 minutes left to this webinar. And again, I'd like to mention that you will receive an email with a recording and an Excel file with all your questions and answers. And how many, would you like to take more questions, Katja, or?
Yeah, I would say let's take some more.
Yes.
Maybe I can answer a few ones quickly together. Mm-hmm. So for videos, not supported yet for now, it's photos. And also for the question of can we lock it by a password? I mean, you could create your own functionality with JavaScript, but it's nothing inbuilt as of today. For the question, if we can link it to Visual Studio Code, that is something, I mean, if you export the project, then you could basically open it in Visual Studio Code and also edit there, but there's not a one-on-one direct integration. Here I'm actually looking for more feedback because we have this suggestion, but I'm not 100% sure of how many people are actually looking for it. So how high is it on the priority list?
Another one here from Marco, is there any chance of integrating AppStudio in Robot Studio also with power packs like arc welding power pack?
I would say it's not integrated. It's really a standalone tool because it also really provides different functionality. But the HMI itself, of course, that is fully running on the robot controller. So if you use Robot Studio, then you already have it there. So the AppStudio itself, no, but in general, I said having the interfaces, they definitely yes. And just to answer one more, there's also a comment saying you need to know a lot of JavaScript. I would say I really showed a lot what is possible, but for 90% of the screens we really see in the real world, then it's fully enough to have the drag and drop functionality. And I think that's a little bit to keep in mind. Even so, we have a lot of experts and we would show the capabilities for most of the screen. Drag and drop is totally fine.
We are down to less than 3 minutes, Katja. I think we have to stop all the Q&As from here. But again, participants, you will get the links to the recording and to the questions and answers. But before we end this session, Katja, would you like to have a final thought or key takeaways from this webinar?
Yes, definitely. So I would say one question to answer from internal, Hendrik. We have also a queue in place to support AppStudio through our Salesforce cases. So in general, I'm super happy to get any feedback because it's really a new product. And the big ambition is to shape it more and more also with future releases to the user needs. And that's all of you really using it, having more and more requests. So I'm super happy to get more input in general from you. Use the forums, use also the contact form directly in AppStudio. And we have seen how AppStudio can simplify robot integration, empowers the customization, and at the end, that is the beginning, and it's really your beginning. So it's really, I can just say, explore what AppStudio can do for you. Download it today, try it, and really see how you can use it.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Katja, for a very nice presentation about AppStudio. And we would also like to thank all the participants that took their time today to participate in this webinar. Next,